What's up, everybody? I'm Scott,
I'm Jason.
and you are listening to Liquid Carnage. What's up, my friend?
Oh, nothing, man. We had our first week of football, and I lost in my fantasy football league, so I'm a little depressed.
Yeah,
But but
yeah. So am I. I lost to our EP Tom in our football league, and it's depressing because everyone. It's a well known state of fact that Tom is terrible at fantasy football.
oh man, that you know what? I think we need to give a special shout out to the EP because for those of you who don't know or haven't been listening to our show for the last 4 years, the EP is usually in the bottom two or three of our league every year. So for
Yeah,
him not only to get a victory, but to get a victory from our current reigning champion
I'm
is
not.
you didn't
I'm
win
not a
last
reigning
year?
champion. No, I believe Chris Bennett won last year.
Oh man,
He unseated my four Pete. I stopped at three.
wow. Okay, well, that's even worse. You're on the bottom. You're like the Rams now, dude. You're just on the bottom now. You were up the pinnacle, and now you're down at the bottom again.
I see it as a challenge to rebuild.
There we
I
go.
consider myself very football savvy with my pickups and my drops. I have a very good understanding of the league, so I think I'll be all right this season. It's
Okay,
not how you start; it's how you finish.
that's true. That is true. That is true. But how are you
You
doing,
know,
my friend?
I am good, like you said. One of the NFL today, a Ohio rivalry, the Browns and the Bengals. So I'm excited to kick back and watch that after listening to our show this week, recording our show. I gotta ask you though, man, how is the weather down in Phoenix? Is it getting better? Are we on the backside of summer down there? Um, are you still burning
We
up?
had a
What's going on
wonderful
down there?
weekend. I mean, beautiful, like absolutely beautiful. But then this week it's all 108s, 109s again until the weekend. So
Oh, see, we've dropped down to like the low 90s now, so we've gone back to like a regular late summer, early fall temps. So I have to say, I'm finally loving it. Like I walked out the other day; it was 98 degrees. I walked out of my office to my truck,
yeah,
and it felt cool. And I hate that feeling that
yeah,
98
I
degrees
know.
felt
We've been
cool,
used to hot weather the whole time. Oh my god.
and I
Hey, you
just
know
wish it
what?
would
I had a
rain.
major accomplishment on Sunday. I did not
What's
watch
that?
one down of football. That
That's
is
not
a
a major
total major
accomplishment.
accomplishment, man. I am off the football, man. I did it. I went one full weekend without watching any sports, any football, nothing.
Well, I will tell you then, I made up for you because I sat my ass down at 10 a.m. and then I drove to the bar where they open 11, and then I sat in my bar stool watching football until the final gun of the Cardinals' victory over San Francisco on
Yeah,
Sunday afternoon.
I
So
finally
I made up
checked
for
my
it.
scores at 7 o'clock at night and saw that I got my butt whooped. So I'm unconnected, man. I'm disconnected. I feel like I've liberated myself.
One of us is, man. I'll tell you what. Now, Tom and I were talking the other night. We have not made our Super Bowl picks, our annual Super Bowl picks here on Liquid Carnage, and he is hesitating to do anything until October because he's afraid of the cancellation of the season. But I got to tell you, man, I really think professional sports, knock on wood, has gotten their arms around testing, watching four major sports and how they're doing it. And I don't think we're going to see a stoppage or an outbreak of play
All right,
from
well that's
COVID
cool.
19.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, the
So since you're off the sauce, let me ask you though: do you still have a Super Bowl pick for this
I,
February?
I will try to think of one. I really don't. I mean, it's hard for me not to look at the previous champions. They're a pretty good team. However, this year I think it's definitely going to be an AFC team. They've definitely come much stronger than the NFC teams. It seems like those teams are really kind of taking a step back. So I guess I'll play it safe. I'll go. You know what? I'll go with Baltimore. I'll go with Baltimore. I'm going to pick Baltimore.
That's a smart pick. I'm going to go with New Orleans over Kansas City in the Super Bowl this year. Drew Brees'
Oh, okay.
swan
I'm
song.
sorry. So I have to pick two teams. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens, and New Orleans is a good pick too. They've been 3 years bad luck. No, no, I still think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be an NFC West team. So blasphemy. I'm gonna go with the Seahawks. Seahawks in
Oh,
Baltimore with Baltimore winning.
Oh well, if Baltimore's gonna win, that's the team that's gonna be. I like to see them beat. So all right, so there you have it. Baltimore over Seattle, New Orleans over Kansas City. My pick. I made the same pick last year. I got 50% right. Our EP Tom will not be making his picks until October because, in his words, it's still too early to tell.
Well, so because I didn't watch any football on Sunday, I completed my very first half gallon of essential oils. Yeah, so I
Oh,
am
very nice.
officially a distiller of essential oils that taste a lot like alcohol.
Oh, that's very beautiful. What kind of alcohol does it taste like
If
if
it
it
were
were
going
to
to
be
be
an
an
alcohol?
alcohol, it tastes like a vodka. Um, and um,
Ooh.
and so what I did was I separated, instead of doing one just half gallon of the same distilled essential oil, I broke it into four um, quarter gallon or 8 gallon jugs, or like little mason jars. And then
Uh-huh.
in one of them, I actually am infusing it with a coffee bean, because Noreen likes to have
Ooh.
espresso essential oils made into martinis. So
Mm-hmm.
I did one of those. So that's my first dive into the essential oils business.
Well, I look forward to trying an Edgeworth Martini, which is just a homemade
Yes,
dirty martini.
and then my next batch will be an essential oil based on a rum flavor.
Ooh. I'd like to put
Yeah,
my
I
order in
spiced
for
it
that.
up too, so it might taste like a dark spiced rum. Yeah,
Oh, that'd be fun. Well, I look forward to sampling your essential oils to see if they do in fact
oh,
bring
okay,
me
yeah,
peace of
because we
mind.
want to get you to a euphoria, dude. We want to get you to a euphoria.
A- Absolutely. So while you were busy making your essential oils this weekend, you mentioned that you were reading an article
Oh,
about
yeah. So
Venus.
this,
Is it what?
I think I don't know if you believe in you put something out there and then it all starts coming back to you. But I was watching on Netflix. They
Absolutely.
had a doc or series called Away, and it was basically a science fiction series about traveling to Mars, humans traveling to Mars.
Uh huh.
So I watched this series and it was very interesting, and at the end, obviously they get to Mars and land on it and they're walking around. And I thought, oh, that'd be kind of cool. Someday we're going to be able to do that, right? Well, then on the news,
Mm-hmm.
they were talking that Venus is showing something in their upper atmosphere, some sort of chemical or some sort of thing that indicates that there might be life that's dying on the planet to produce this chemical that comes into the atmosphere. And so now they're saying that there might be parts of Venus that are inhabitable by humans under certain circumstances, that, like they're on the dark side of Venus, so they're not as hot as the side that faces the sun.
I saw this in a movie once. It was called Total Recall,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
Mars.
Okay. Okay.
and and all I learned out of that was three
Yeah.
tits are
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay. Also, I think I saw it in a movie called Interstellar. I think I saw it on a movie, Star Wars. I mean, I think I've seen this in a lot of places. So
Number one, Star Wars took place in a galaxy far, far,
true.
far away,
True.
and Interstellar also took place at a futuristic time. But okay, I'll give it to you for our planets here
But it
instead
got
of the
me
black
thinking,
holes.
Scott, you have the opportunity to go to another
Uh huh.
planet. Are you going?
Do I get to take my boys?
Um, well, in the series I watched, they couldn't bring children or anybody because it was a 3-year mission. So I'll say no.
Okay. Well, they're not children, even though I treat them like that. They're essential to me. They're my uh,
Okay.
comfort animals, as it were. So for me to go on this mission, I have to take them with me. Otherwise,
Okay,
I'm out.
let me ask you a question. Does the lack or the inability to have physical relations scare you about going on a 3-year mission? So, I mean,
Yes.
because I was thinking the first thing is like, I don't know.
That should have scared the crew of the
Yeah.
SS Minnow for a 3 hour tour, let alone a 3 year
Yeah.
mission to an
3-year
island.
mission to an island where there's no one to have physical relations with.
Exactly. Yeah. If they said basically 3 years, no sex, no pets, no friends, but you're going to be a trailblazer, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to go be a trailblazer somewhere else where I can have my pets and
Well,
get
do you
laid.
remember a few years ago, when they were talking? I think maybe it was even Elon Musk was talking about, uh, being able to go to Mars someday, and all these people signed up to be part of the first group of humans that go to Mars. They like
Uh-huh.
sight unseen, they just went and did it, and like not even a contemplation of you'd be leaving your families, you'd be being on a foreign world, nothing. They just went for it. So it got me thinking, I don't know if I would do it, but there are a lot of people that have no problem discovering a new planet, man.
It's for me at first blush. If I can't take if I can't take the things that are important to me with me, it's probably a hard pass. But in a perfect world, we'll just manipulate this scenario a little bit, just for the sake of our conversation. If I could take my significant other and my pets, then yeah, absolutely, I'd go. 3 years, fuck it, why not? Let's see what
Yeah,
happens.
I don't know. I like the Earth a lot. You'd have to like what? Why would you go? Like, why would you go if you had a chance to?
I think it's the idea of going someplace new and seeing something new. Even if it's a desert planet or what have you, it's the adventure. There's an innate idea of being an explorer that I think everybody has at some point in their life, to discover something new, to go someplace no one's ever gone before, and to be that trailblazer. You look at Neil Armstrong stepping onto the moon, and one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. I
Yeah,
said
I
that right,
think
right?
that's close enough. One small
Yeah,
step
close
for
enough.
man, one
You
giant
know,
leap for mankind. Just what it was.
okay, yeah, exactly. I You can't take that away from him.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't take away the fact that he was the first human on the moon. There's something to be said about that, to be on the first mission to Venus.
Yeah,
What if it's a planet of women? Because men are from Mars, women are from Venus. ZZ Top wrote a song about that. Maybe it's amazing. Maybe it's terrible.
yeah,
You don't know.
yeah. And I mean, I guess the other thing is by the time the technology catches up to the ability for us to travel to Mars, the world might be kind of a jacked up place anyways. So maybe it's going to be, out of necessity that people are going to have to travel whether they want to or not.
The world's already on that direction. We can't get out of our own way as a society and as a people. So I don't think it's that far of a stretch to believe that uh, we're not that far away from having to do something like
Yeah,
this.
when I was running down the strip when it was closed for COVID and it was just me and the run down the strip, I thought of myself thinking, yeah, in 1,000 years when we're long gone or we've gone to Mars and left the planet, someone's going to come to our planet and say, what the hell were they doing building this thing in the middle of a desert?
Well, that's even if it's a desert and thousands of
Yeah.
years there. Maybe it's underwater. Maybe it's covered by rainforest at that point. Like, listen, we don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of exploration. It's you don't know what you're going to find. You don't know what you're going to discover, what you're going to stumble upon, and get to name or really be a trailblazer of. So it's a cool idea. It's a fun idea. But let's not forget the elephant in the room, aliens.
Oh,
I mean, what if we're not the first species to visit there, to establish a colony there? What if that's a forward camp for a group of hostile aliens that go on? I've seen the movie Aliens, so I have an idea what could happen.
yeah. Well, I was thinking about. So I was reading up on the part about Venus, and they said that everything that the science has told them is that there's no way that humans could live on the planet because one, it's made up of carbon dioxide, sulfuric acid is in the atmosphere, right? And then I guess at the core, at the base of the planet where the land might be, the pressure is like 90 times that of what the Earth is. So it would be so much pressure that we couldn't survive being on the planet, right? But like you said, there might be
Mm-hmm.
alien life forms that live on Venus that don't mind the heat, that don't have a problem with the pressure, that are living normal lives just like we are.
Yeah, and that's what people got to remember. It's cool to think about exploring all these new planets or going and setting up colonies, but we don't know what's out there. We have an idea, but we literally only know what's on the surface.
And
We don't know if
Yeah,
there's
we're
something
kind of
inside.
arrogant too to think, oh well, we could handle our own out there in the real world if we met up with some alien. Like you said, yeah, those aliens and aliens, they weren't just something to mess around with, man.
It's funny you bring up this topic today, and I read an article uh, the other week, and just one of those cinema websites, and it was just the things that the human population went wrong with in the movie Aliens, and it was a very tongue in cheek article, but it had a few good points, like you get what you deserve if you're a scout mission and you go off to investigate a distress signal on a planet you've never investigated. You get what you put into that. You brought that
That's a
onto
good point.
yourself.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
You know, sticking your face into egg pods of an animal or a species you know nothing about. That's on you. I mean, so curiosity, for as a beautiful thing as it is, it's a double-edged
Yeah,
sword. You know
well,
what I'm saying?
I don't know if you're old enough to or have seen the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. Um,
Open the pod bay doors,
what's
Jason.
that?
Open the pod bay
Exactly.
doors, Jason.
What's wrong, Dave? But even that, they saw something on Jupiter and said, we need to go investigate. It's like, no, you don't. You don't need to go over
Yeah.
there. What are you doing?
If it's bad enough, it'll find us. There's a little thing in sports I like to call home field advantage. And I think the same should apply here. Granted, we don't want alien life forms coming to our planet that are hostile. Maybe they're already here. We don't know. Government will tell us a few things. But let's just humor this idea for a second that we detect something on Jupiter and we're going to go investigate. That's a terrible idea.
Yeah,
Do you want xenomorphs? Because that's how you
yeah,
get
and
xenomorphs.
I mean, the thing about Mars that I think is we have a good suspicion because we've seen so much of it that there's nothing living on the planet. But I think that would change tremendously if we found out that something was living on the planet.
Yeah, but in that same respect, how many times have you driven by a crack house or an abandoned house in a bad neighborhood thinking nobody lives there? Nobody lives there. And then it turns out there's homeless people living on piss-soaked mattresses in the
Yeah,
back.
that's true.
You can't drive by a planet like a house and assume just because it looks empty that it's
Yeah,
empty.
that's a good point. And the scientists do say that Mars, it looks like there were rivers that were flowing at some point in Mars's history. At some point, there was signs of rivers flowing. Now, I don't know if it's of water or a variation of water, but that something was living on the planet at a time, and then it dried up. But oh man, I don't know. I wouldn't want to go to Mars for sure. I think I'm okay staying at home, making my essential oils and doing my thing.
Well, let me ask you this then. If you had a chance to go colonize a giant space station community, like we've seen the science fiction where the people are giant space stations in Star Trek or whatever else, outposts for ships to refuel and restock in their cities and their parks and whatever else. Just in space, would you go live in one of those?
My initial response would be no. I think I'm an Earthling. I like being on Earth. I never thought it would be really exciting to take one of those SpaceX rockets and go up into orbit and see go to Mir or the space station or go see space. That has no interest to me at all.
So now here's the part where it gets interesting for me. I agree with you. I am perfectly fine being an Earthling. But had Space Force been a thing 25 years ago, I probably would have signed up for Space Force.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of people who signed up for Space Force, so I'm assuming that there's a lot of people who wanted to see the stars and want to do it.
Well, I think there's more to it than just that. But yeah, absolutely. I think even though you're not going up into space, there's a lot of things you can do around it. And I'm not just saying I would never go up. I think given the opportunity to go up there and work on a space station for a bit, or just even take a joyride around the planet, I think there are certain things just to say you've done it are worthwhile in doing it. And if that provides an opportunity for it, by all means. But as I'm pushing 40 now, I realize I don't want to start over in that career path to go on that
Yeah.
trajectory.
Yeah. I remember my dad and I had a conversation when I was a kid, and we were talking about um, space travel. And I don't remember how it came up, but basically, the question came up: if you had a chance to go into a space capsule and live the rest of your life, going through the galaxy, but it meant that you could never come back to Earth, would you do it? And my dad said flat out that he would go in a heartbeat. He would love to see, he would have loved to see the galaxies and traveled in space and never come back. And the only thing I could think of is, wow, we mean that little to you, Dad. Like, we mean that little to you that you'd be willing to do that. Do you think that you would have reservations about leaving if you knew that you would never come back and see your family?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if it was a peace out, once you go, you can't come back, I couldn't do that. If it was just if my parents were gone and my brother was gone, I had no other living relatives or close friends. You know what? Yeah, I'm the type of person you want on there. I can go. I'll make friends along the way. It's no harm, no foul. But if there's people I'm leaving behind, I'm not going
Well,
to go.
that even brings me to a point. So, you've gone on vacation where you're having a great time, you're seeing a new place you've never seen before, but there's something about laying in your bed in your house. It just feels good. It just feels really good, and I think I would have the
Yeah,
same thing. Like, yeah, it's okay to see this Venus or see Mars, but at the end of the day, I want to come home.
yeah.
Like, no one goes out and just like
And that's
visits,
it.
and they don't go vacation for the rest of their lives and never come back home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's at some point you do want to go home again, and I don't want to live my life on a space capsule. That's like living in a motorhome. I can't do that. I want my freedom to go out and be able to do things. And in that case, I have to have a spacesuit on if I want to get out, and it's still kind of encapsulating, and I don't like that idea.
Well, and I guess
I get
go ahead.
I get very claustrophobic in certain cases, and that's one of them.
If the Earth became inhabitable within 50 years, let's say, and they said, okay, everyone's moving to Mars,
You there? Hold on,
would you go?
I lost you.
Oh, I just asked the question: if the Earth has become uninhabitable in the next 50 years based on our current populations, and they say, hey, we're all moving to Mars, because this planet's not going to survive very much longer, would you go to Mars then, or would you stay and just go with the plan?
You stay within the next 50 years, so that puts me at 89 and for the tail end of that.
Okay, good point. Yeah. Okay.
They're not going to let me go anyway, so I'll be too old unless the average age of the human being turns into about 250 between now and then.
Oh God, I hope not.
Yeah, yeah. We both we won't make the cut on that one. We just won't. They're going to leave us be to defend our own devices, and it's going to be an old person shit show in 50 years, and we'll be at the front of the pack.
One thing I think that does prohibit me from traveling in space too is right now the technology is not there to be able to move fast through space to cover a lot, further distance.
That we know of.
If they came up with technology that you could go to the next galaxy over in 5 days or 10 days or something like that, I think I'd be more open to maybe going into space and traveling a little bit.
Yeah, I can't say that technology doesn't already exist, because I go back to what happened when we took out Osama bin Laden, and all the technology that we happened to discover that the government had that we weren't supposed to find out for another 10 to 15 years. There's no telling what advanced engine technology is out there. We just haven't been informed of it yet.
Oh, okay. And they haven't used it in space or tested it that we know of either.
Exactly. I mean, it depends what kind of rabbit holes of conspiracy theories you want to go down to really, test those theories and see what's out there. And if that technology was available and space travel really was like Star Trek, you might get me to go up for a little while, but I definitely want to come home.
Would you be open to if they built a space station on the moon?
For like a vacation.
No, like I mean, if they decided, the United States decided, hey, we're working with 5 other countries to put a space station on the moon, as basically a launch pad for future missions, would you be okay with the government doing that?
Yeah, you know what? If they want to do that, it's fine. As long as they're not sending me, I don't care.
Well, the reason why I asked is because one of the questions that came up during the show I was watching was, is it worth it to spend all this money to make a space station or go to Mars when we've got real problems in the world that could be using that money to solve those problems?
I think we've established as a society, as a species, that we're always going to have these problems. So if people don't want to help themselves, we might as well spend that money doing the things that we want to do.
Ah, interesting. Okay. All right.
You know,
Yeah,
that's
I
just my.
guess I think that it's an interesting question because we do have a thirst for exploration, and I think it would be cool to say that we did it. But then it's also, yeah, but then we have those people, the homeless people sleeping on a urine stained mattress in a house that has no power, no water.
Yeah,
Why don't we try to solve those problems? But yeah, I get you.
yeah. You could help. You can't help anybody that doesn't want to be helped themselves.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this conversation, if you had the chance to go on an interstellar adventure, but you can't take your friends, you can't take your family or your pets, would you go? And if so, where would you go? Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. If you want to take our EP Tom on one of those for a wild weekend across the galaxy, hit him up at Twitter and Instagram at liquid_EP.
Yeah. Do you think the EP would be a traveler, or do you think he stays home?
Honestly, it's a 50-50 shot.
50-50 shot. Okay, because he gets a wild hair sometimes and does some things that surprise me.
Yeah, part of me says that at one point in his life he would have gone, and he still might, but I'm gonna err on the idea of no, not at this point.
Hey, we need him to be our executive producer. So him being on a delay of 30 or 40 hours would just not work for me.
Yeah, the lag time of this new gig's already dragging because we sometimes don't get our notes until Sunday afternoon. So.
Exactly. Well, he's working.
I
That's the
know.
worst part now. Now his job doesn't allow him to friggin' do it while he's like just putting around. He's got to actually work now. It sucks.
It's a first world problem, but I'm glad he's got it.
It is a first world problem. Oh boy. Well, thanks for allowing me to dive down this rabbit hole. Like my mind, I must drive people crazy. My mind will start like the 6 degrees of separations on some of these topics, like lead me to go way off into no man's land. So
I'm always happy to indulge on these. I think it's a lot of fun to just talk about the what ifs.
Yeah, I agree.
So with that being said, Jason, before you go back to go finish bottling your essential oils,
all right.
You take us
hey,
home?
Everyone, thanks for listening. We always appreciate you. That was Scott. I am Jason. And as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some liquid carnage.